Slowly I turn. And good morning. Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. I am currently your only host, Lauren Gray with Hospitality Digital Marketing for show number 96, June 9th, 2017. Oh, what a fun ride it's been. We're almost coming up on our 2-year mark, actually. Next month, the month after, August will be our 2-year. Our 100th show will be on July 7th. We have lovingly and consistently have been showing up every week on Fridays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We first started Wednesdays, moved to Fridays, regardless of the platform that we've used to distribute with. Every week for now, we'll be coming up on 2 years, sharing with you the latest tips, news, and techniques associated with hospitality and digital marketing. Now, we will, hopefully, fingers crossed, all life is good, having our special co-host with us, which we will, I actually found something I thought was a blast. I think the audio will pick this up when I do this. And this is for those who are old enough to remember. Well, that's a statement I often begin to say more now as time goes on. Back in SNL days, Saturday Night Live, Bill Murray, he was Nick the Lounge Singer, and he did this rendition. Nick Winters. There you go.
Thank you. Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit on the 77. Oh, Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars.
And this is in honor of our upcoming host. Hopefully, we'll save a little bit for him when it comes time for him to hop on the show. We will have the privilege, hopefully, of Lance, who is in a really unique position, and we don't often get the chance to have hosts that are not specifically in hospitality. We have several hosts that come through that are service providers to hospitality, are themselves in hospitality, but we have hopefully the pleasure of having someone that is out from hospitality. Mr. Robert Cole, a pleasant good morning to you, sir.
Well, good morning to you as well.
I was ready to resort to hand puppets and different gestures. Oh, and I was just talking about that gentleman that's going to be popping in with us very soon. Hi, Lance. We see that you've joined, and
you have to hit buttons at the top of your screen for the camera and the sound. Yeah.
We have you visually. Do we have your audio as well? Oh, he stopped moving. There's a little microphone one up top too. Nope. Up on top of the screen, along with the camera, is also the audio. We can't hear you. We see you. We just do not hear you. Is there an audio?
Are you familiar with American Sign Language?
there's an audio button on the top of the screen as well. Yes, thank you. Or maybe first word sounds like second syllable. 3 words.
Oh, that's good. Charades. We've never done charades before. That's excellent.
Charades. Well, as I was trying to do the introductions for all of us, Mr. Tim is with us as well, or will be shortly for it. I don't know if you caught my wonderful playback of Bill Murray's Star Wars, Nick the Lounge Singer. Do you remember Nick the Lounge Singer with Bill Murray?
Star Wars.
Nothing but Star Wars.
Nick, and all, if you have a microphone, which I'm believing you should, with bad headset, no mic hand on. Okay.
No worries.
Perfect.
Wait, just to be clear, you're already doing better than we do on our own.
Yes, you're light years ahead. Well, I'll say I was playing the rendition. I don't know if you guys can. Let me see if I can keep playing it here. If you can hear it. What'd you think?
I think it's very appropriate for this broadcast because I believe he was a hotel lounge singer.
Yes, he was. See, I tried. See, that's why I love when you're on the show with me, Robert, because you find my totally obscure connect the dots.
Because hotels used to have that down at the Howard Johnson's or whatever.
The sunken. Remember, you used to have sunken floors. That was a big thing. You had to have the sunken floors and the rails and. You had those vinyl seats that were doubled up as banquet seats. They were bar seats, banquet seats. You didn't know which one was which.
Well, and actually, in hotels,
I'd like to point out I'm far too young to remember.
Then why you're nodding your head so much? I don't understand.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And hotels used to have entertainment rooms, which were
Yes.
but the Fairmont in Dallas had the Venetian room, which was a great.
The Venetian room.
The Venetian
That's
room.
fantastic.
Remember when
I
the
mean,
bar-
I saw Ella Fitzgerald at the Venetian room.
Did you really?
I did. Probably one of the most outstanding, concert and settings.
Well-
I mean, small, very retro 50s
And
style
only-
nightclub, and
And only one of the finest singers of the 20th century. I mean,
right. Oh no,
you know,
it was
not do
spectacular.
better than that.
You remember the bars? Even when the service lights were turned on, it was still dark and dingy. There was never light in those places, and the
No.
door was quilted, pillowed, leathered door that you had to swing open.
Oh,
There was
Or perhaps red velvet was also a nice theme.
oh yes, the red velvet
kind of that-
wallpaper.
More red
kind of that
velvet.
Victorian,
Sorry.
that kind of nice Victorian bordello look.
All right, now we went down memory lane. That's all good for us. I'm surprised that Ed wasn't like first out of the gate here today. I mean, this is, as he said in his email, the convergence of his real world and his virtual
You
world.
must have missed Ed's email. Ed will not be joining us. His event today is running long.
Did not see that.
So he will either be
Oh,
here
boy.
late or not at all.
Oh, that is
I
terrible.
had a feeling he
Terrible.
would-
This
I
is like
had a
his
feeling
dream
he
come
would
true
try-
conversation.
Exactly.
Say again.
This is like his dream true conversation. Talking with somebody that talks in the language that he knows.
That's right. That's right.
Wow, Lance speaks Klingon. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right,
I tried to. I went to my wife and I was like, I have Lance joining. She's like, "What's the big deal?" Says, "Oh, you don't understand." And I said, "I don't have any Star Wars stuff. I've already brought all my Star Wars stuff down to Florida because we're migrating, obviously, down to Florida. And all I have is my Star Trek stuff." So I thought
Is this an annual thing? No, I don't know. If
yeah,
that's
no.
obvious.
This is the permanent thing. The shift from living from Dallas to moving to Florida. But so I thought I'd try to dialogue Lance with the ever present and never answered question: can a Galaxy class starship take on the Death Star? Or just or Borg cube, can it take on the Death Star?
This has got to be fascinating for all of our listeners who,
And
I
wait
hope
a
so.
second.
As soon as Lance finds a microphone, as we get to that. But
an
Well, we could talk
X-wing
about some
fighter
booze
took
or
an
something.
X-wing fighter. An X-wing fighter took on the Death Star. Come on. So
no,
obviously
yeah,
not
that's true.
possible.
Because well, anyway, but that's just we'll get it all straightened out. I was kind of hoping that Lance would have a little bit of the 501st behind him or something, little background,
This is Lance's job. He may not. Yeah, there's certain jobs where you have to separate your actual employment versus your interest, sort of thing. So there may be a certain level of professionalism, organization, not.
Oh,
just,
come on! You cannot imagine that doesn't bleed over into his work life. That you get to be around those people doing those things. That there has to be some intrinsic, you just get drawn into that because of the passion and the participation of people. So, anyway,
or
while we're
maybe
waiting
we'll
for
find
this,
out
I'm
that
just
maybe
talking
Lance.
around him.
But maybe Lance just doesn't care, and this is just purely for money. No, I'm just.
Oh, I don't know. Hold on, wait a minute. We're getting Stuart. Stuart's coming in. Stuart, where are you, Stuart?
Stuart
He
was
said he
having
gonna do something.
costume issues early, perhaps. His
Yeah,
Wonder Woman
maybe.
outfit wasn't
There he
quite
is!
working.
Boba Fett. And
Holly's saying, "Help! I can't get on." Holly, are you sure you want to? Have you seen what's happening here?
Holly,
thank you, Stuart.
Holly's got her Wonder Woman outfit on. This is going to be great.
I will send Holly.
Actually, technically, under my shirt, so do I.
Wow.
There's a
Hold on,
visual you all
You
could
did say
understand.
cosplay.
Stuart, thank you, sir. Because all I could cough up is my Star Trek stuff. I was just saying, I was lamenting the fact that I went to go look for my Star Wars stuff,
Yeah,
and I had already brought it down to Florida. And I'm like, oh, I got Star Trek. I'm like, well, I'll play the antithesis then, I guess.
there you
Live long,
go.
prosper.
That'll start some long debates.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about Galaxy class against the Death Star, but that's just later on.
Maybe
All right, I got to invite Holly in so that she can join. And let's see, raise your hand, invite a speaker. Yes, we're going to invite you a speaker. We'll get you on at least that way. And if not, I'll send the link over. Odd that her link wouldn't work. Lance joined us temporarily, but his audio didn't work. He had a bad headset, so he had to bow out for a moment. So we've been talking around and about him. since he left.
That'll work.
In the hopes that he'll return. Although I guess maybe after he starts seeing us chat, he's like, "Yeah, not having a mic might be
These
good."
clowns. Yeah.
That's right.
Anyway, all right. Well, if we could now, I went over and I did a little broadcasting different. I actually have the Periscope broadcasting from a different place because I was getting this wicked echo that was destroying Facebook and Periscope Live. So I'm trying to see if this system works. I'm doing Facebook Live with us now, which seems to be doing a better job of it. So we'll see. Oh, there's Holly. Well, that doesn't look like Holly, but sorry, she's probably coming in as a guest, so that's probably for it. Anyway, I really had a short roster. Robert, thank you. Hey, Holly.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
Good. How's everybody? Where's Lance?
He was here, but he had no microphone, or he had a bad microphone, so he had to step away. So we've been talking about Lance as if he was here, but he's not here.
So
He saw Lauren wearing the Star Wars shirt, and
He said, "I'm out of here."
exited. No,
But he then saw Stuart with
Bad
the Boba
idea.
Fett, so
I
he's like,
should-
Abort! There are children aboard.
I should probably give you a little bit of background about Lance.
okay.
Okay. Oh, let's talk about Lance while he's not here. That's an excellent.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
The best time. So Lance is the SVP of Reed Pop, which is a quirky offshoot of Reed Exhibitions Expo something. So what Lance does is runs, I don't know how many, he'll have to tell you, a whole bunch of Comic-Cons. So New York Comic-Con is his Star Wars celebrations. These are all of his shows that he puts together. And he is, there he is. Hopefully his microphone's going to work. But he got his start, I just want to let everybody know, in the hotel business.
Ah.
There he is. Hi, Lance.
I think it works. Does it work?
Yay!
Yes.
It works. Yay.
Yay!
Whew.
Wait a minute.
Thank
Stuart
you.
came in honor
Sorry.
of- Stuart came in honor of you. He's got to go grab it again. You may have missed
Yeah.
this.
You missed his entrance.
There we go.
If this is more comfortable, I'd do it for the whole show. But
We do, yeah, but you probably start sweating behind it or something.
No, I think you should keep it,
Oh,
Stuart.
that's awesome. That is really cool. Well done.
Yeah, I was just lamenting the fact I'm in the process of moving to Florida, so all my Star Wars stuff made it first because I wanted to be saved. So all I have is my Star Trek version. So I figured I'd get you into a rallying conversation of Star Trek versus Star Wars, Galaxy Class versus Death Star, but that's later on. Oh, I just lost everybody.
yeah, my screen just went blank. I can hear you guys, but I cannot see anyone.
Yeah, I can hear everybody too.
but I cannot see.
Yeah, my screen just went blank. What the heck happened?
I don't know.
Lance joins and then we leave. Then everything goes blank.
There's a Sith Lord in our presence.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while I try to work on this, and I apologize for the lack of video since something weird has happened.
Lumos. Lumos.
We'll do this as a podcast for right now. Lance, thanks for joining us on all this, even though it's now dark, which is the first time this has ever happened. I have no idea why this is not happening like this. But anyway, gentlemen, if you would, please start the dialogue with Lance while I go play tech and try to figure out. Oh, we're back.
There we are.
Oh, it's back.
I used the force.
And I did something
Well, that's
that made
good.
that happen. I
You used
don't
the
know.
force.
Yes. Anyway, Lance, as we mentioned to describe, the first half hour is yours to bring us anywhere you want to go and talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. And then we have a
I don't know if I'd open up that wide.
We're good with it because we're all just happy that you've the chance to speak with you and all. But welcome. Thank you very much. Please tell us a little bit about who and what and all that kind of fun stuff.
Sure. I'll start with Apple because they're so annoying. Because the whole reason this all got screwed up is because I have the new iPhone, and so this whole deal, which doesn't go into a laptop. So then I was like, I don't know if you can swear, so I won't. But I was like, shoot, what am I gonna do? So I'm like running around. Like, okay, good. So I was like, shit, what the fuck? How are they gonna hear me swearing? So, anyways, I've got all sorts of weird devices here that I didn't even know I would need to show you how much I care and was trying to connect. I think this one is a pacemaker, actually.
Oh yeah.
Don't take that one out.
so-
Don't unplug that one. Don't unplug that one.
My daughters are in the Apple world, and I'm very much in the Android world. And so yeah, my daughter, last night was like, "Hey, I need an adapter," because she can't plug in her her headphone into like her MacBook, and she's just like, "Wait, I can't. Why can't?" It's like exceptional industrial design there.
So I guess
And
we're
they
not
have
going to
this
get to the 6 biggest things Apple just announced, Parp, since we're bashing it so badly. No.
Well, it's really actually I'm blaming them for my own lack of planning and technical prowess. So it's not really their fault. It's like when people blame airlines for flights being canceled, like American screws everything up, and it's like it's a thunderstorm, dude. Like these things happen. So,
Yeah, screw it. The equipment needs maintenance. Come on, we'll make it.
yeah,
We only did 1 week.
stupid airlines can't do anything right. Like, don't they know they can fly without operating engines? Jerks. I'm not just pandering to the audience because you guys are in the travel and hospitality industry, but it doesn't hurt.
No, not. So Holly was kind of giving us a little prelude of you, but she just got started, but she didn't get warmed up. So by all means, please pick it up from there or whatever. We were just drooling over the fact that you get to play with everybody that we love hanging around with. So we just wanted to like pick your brain as to actually from a business perspective, it's like, how did all that get started? I mean, how did you actually get, because people just don't walk around the streets with, wearing stormtrooper gear. Well, take that back. They do, but they get together in groups. So
I live
please
in
go
New York
ahead.
City, or not New York City. I live in New York, so yeah, it's a little different world. But so basically, I'll give you the very abbreviated version. So we created a show in 2006 called New York Comic Con, and like most inspiration, we just copied what somebody else was doing and said, why don't we do it here? Because there's an amazing show in San Diego called San Diego Comic Con, and that's the originator of the concept of a Comic Con. They did it 45 years ago, and it was tiny and it wasn't cool. And now there's Comic Con events everywhere. It's a ubiquitous term. It's not a trademark term, so it's like Expo. It just is a descriptor. So we created New York Comic Con in 2006, and I work for a big events company, a business-to-business trade show company called Reed Exhibitions. We did this as a crazy kind of offshoot, and it worked in the sense that a lot of people came, but it didn't work in the sense that we weren't expecting a lot of people. So, you know what I mean? Like a grand opening of a hotel where you're like, we have 10 check-ins, but then 1,500 show up, right? And you don't have housekeeping staff or anything else. I can think of one opening that Holly did back in the day that was a little bit like that, with fire alarms going off constantly and things like that. New York Comic Con was our version of that. So it was a disaster. The police shut it down. It was clear we had no idea what we were doing, but that people really liked this idea. So we fixed it, cleaned it up, ran it again, and then quickly launched another event in the pop culture space, an anime festival. I started doing negotiations with Lucasfilm to run their Star Wars Celebration event. We were in the process of then acquiring a business in Seattle, which was a video game show. So basically within 3 years of one kind of ill-suited or ill-prepared idea, we had this burgeoning business. So we created a separate company essentially called Reed Pop, which is the pop culture arm of this big, traditional, boring business-to-business event giant. And we now, over the last 10 years, we've done... we now have 30 shows in 10 countries around the world just by launching and building and acquiring and things like that. So we're a really very different, very quirky, kind of separate offshoot of this big event giant. So that's it. That's my career, I guess, in the last 10 years in 2 minutes.
Wow,
That's fantastic.
Well,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, what I've been dying to ask, probably one of the very few questions I have out of all this, other than listening, would be how do you enjoy what it is, or are you just present for what it does?
He's asking if you're a nerd or not, basically.
Yeah, well, so I said we run these big video game shows, and they're called PAX, Penny Arcade Expo. And they're not really just video game shows. It's tabletop, PC, mobile, all kinds of gaming, right? But the thing when we interview people and they talk about, oh, I'm such a huge gamer, I'm constantly playing. It's like, well, you won't anymore. Like, you won't have time and you probably won't like it. You know what I mean? Because like you're so immersed in it and you see all the stories behind the stuff that you kind of, it's almost like you want to go home and do something else. So yes, I enjoy what it is, but it is as fun as it might be. It is still work. You know, it's a job. We talk a lot about New York Comic Con's the biggest show we run, and it's brutal. Like, it's really brutal. It's 16-hour days, and there's 200,000 people that come to this show. You're constantly on the edge of chaos, and it's very stressful. It's not fun. Like, we kind of sit there on Sunday night and say, this is the furthest we'll ever be from the next New York Comic Con. So just enjoy it.
I only have one.
Yeah, the logistics.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just the logistics and security alone, dealing with the people who have to come in. The craze is crazy. People do that with the hotel business. They go, "Oh, it'd be great, run this hotel and do this. We'll have famous celebrities in our bed and breakfast." It's like, oh no,
Yeah.
that's not. That is not entertaining and fun.
No. Sorry, in our world, we have security, and a full third of the people coming are bringing prop weapons that they're trying to make look as realistic as possible.
And masks, right? Masks,
Yeah.
makeup, and
But there's been serious, in Phoenix, right near where Holly lives, they had a very serious issue. And so it's logistics and moving freight in and moving people in and, making sure everything happens. But then there is a real element of just hardcore safety as well. So
Sure. I was about to say the only Palin example that I had is as a kid. I remember I got a job at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was enthralled with the idea that now I get to eat every donut in the world I want until after my third night shift, and I realized that making the donuts sucked.
I bet that's what I'll feel like when I get that job at a dispensary in Seattle.
But do you have moments I'm going to quit this from a banquet side of things, where the chaos in the back and the calm in the front, and everything's going hectic and chaotic. But then when you get out front, the reward, you see it, and you see the people enjoying it, and you're just there going, wow, you know what? They don't know what happened to do this, but this is cool that this is happening. There is a reward to it, I imagine, as well for you.
Totally. Actually, your banquet example is a great example. When it's chaos in the kitchen and the wait staff and everything else, when you come out and you create an event for somebody, it's rewarding. We always say we build fun for people. That's our job, is to build fun. So yeah, it's stressful, but people they're not there because they have to be. They're not there because they're getting continuing education credit or their boss sent them. They're there because they've saved up all year and they're not missing it. And they've called in sick to work so they can go every day of the show. This is their vacation, their geek prom, their Super Bowl all wrapped up. So they're very, very happy to be there. And for the most part, they're really appreciative. On the flip side, when you get it wrong, maybe a banquet, if it's somebody's wedding, you just fucked up their wedding, So when you get it wrong, they tell you, and they're pretty unforgiving about it. But that's a whole nother
Well, yeah, I was about to say the expectation level for yours is way up there, like a wedding would be. It's hey, it's got to be in their mind flawless. What their expectations that brought them there, you have to deliver. And if you're anywhere short of that, I bet you hear about that in a big way. How do you handle the community like that? Because I was going to ask about the community and the building till the next event kind of stuff. How do you engage all those people?
We hire well. We hire people that are of that community, have a passion for the community, understand, the wants, the desires, and how to communicate and where these people live. So you try and keep it as organic as possible, and that helps. But again, there are a lot of parallels because this is a service industry that we're in, right? We're building something to serve others. And for the most part, people want to be heard. They want to feel valued. And you can find lots of different ways to do that. But even when you get it wrong, if they feel heard and they feel valued, it makes a huge difference, just like any other service industry that you guys are a part of as well. So
cool. Gentlemen, I keep jumping in on everybody, so I'm going to be quiet.
So I also.
Oh, go ahead, Holly.
I also think it's important to note that Lance worked in a hotel once, started in a hotel many years ago, and also had his own web design company.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. You want to hear how I got started in the hospitality industry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I won't tell you the first part. I'll tell you like how I got the interview is interesting. But then when I got the job, it was for an independent hotel management company in the DC area, and they drug tested, which was a problem. So the person that was hiring though gave me 2 chances to get it right. And I had a friend that was a biology major at the University of Wisconsin at the time, so he told me what to do. And on the second chance, I passed, and I got hired by this company. And that's actually how I got my start in hospitality. So the real question,
you can pass
the
drug
real
tests
question
to
is,
the right people.
the real question is, Holly, why did you give me the second chance?
I can't even. I have a picture of Holly as my boss.
Oh, God.
Having Holly as the boss, what that would be
I
like.
put-
That would be interesting.
Let's
was
talk about
fantastic.
Holly as a boss. Yeah.
So wait, I put an ad in the Washington Post and said, which late night talk show host do you prefer? And it was during the Letterman-Leno war. And I put in the ad, I'm only going to hire Letterman fans. So
Thank
just so
you,
you know,
There's
oh
the right
yeah,
answer.
I didn't want
right
any
there.
Leno. So Lance sends the top 10 reasons that you should hire me.
Oh,
although
Nice.
he actually said he preferred Tom Snyder.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wow, the late
He's
show.
still hurting because Letterman took Snyder's job. That's excellent.
I was such an old man for a kid. You know, like what like 19-year-olds like. I really like Tom Snyder.
Snyder, yeah.
Make any sense.
Right now, I feel some overwhelming urge to be sitting here with a cigarette and chuckling
Yeah.
ruefully and everything. That's a great story, Lance. Tell us more about your time on the road.
Tell you a story about working radio in Cleveland in the 1960s. This something really.
And right now, everybody under a certain age on this show is
Going,
going,
what?
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, Stuart is
I'm
going,
Tom
I have
Snyder.
no idea who
Yeah.
Tom Snyder is.
Tom Snyder was, yeah.
You can
Stuart
Google
wants
him.
more
What you really
information
want
on
to
how
see,
beat the
Stuart?
drug test. Yeah, so-
If
Yeah,
you wanna see-
I did learn
Stuart-
something today. Do drug tests responsibly. That's exactly.
No, I don't want to digress too far, but if you want to see Tom Snyder at his finest, you really have to go to YouTube and find the interview of him interviewing Kiss.
Oh, really?
When Ace Frehley is drunk out of his mind and pissing off the other guys in the band, and Tom Snyder is just chuckling through the whole thing. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever see. Anyway,
So, anyway.
We go off on tangents on this show a lot.
Oh, yeah, we're all over the place. It's
Mostly a tangent.
Yeah.
So let's talk RevPAR.
Antiquated methodology of tracking profitability based on other.
Yeah. Let's talk about line by line the budget for Comic-Con and how that really breaks out.
What I really
Tell them
want-
how much a keg of beer
hold on.
costs.
Stuart, I think, has a real question. Go ahead.
Yep.
I don't know how real it is, but I want to know if you get to see the trailers before they're aired. If you do, if you can send us a copy next time.
We do. We do.
You sign your life
At least
away.
at least in Tech Check we do. But
Yeah.
you know, we were in. This is a good example. We were in business with Lucasfilm before Disney acquired them. So since 2008,
Oh,
when they didn't have new films.
Right.
You know, so we were catering to a hardcore fan community, and there wasn't a lot of new material. I mean, there was Rebels and there was Clone Wars and things, but that was not F7. You know,
Yeah.
so then being in business with Disney, when we now have new content to deliver to really new fans every year, is totally different and really exhilarating. But one point I'm coming around to was standing in the room when that F7 trailer was shown to the world for the first time. It was a theater we built with 7,000 people in it, and literally grown men were crying.
Yeah.
Like it was,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm not joking. It was one of the most moving experiences. And then, because I'm a grown up now, seeing what that whatever it was, 4-minute trailer did to Disney's stock price that day
Oh.
was
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it's true.
Yeah. I was one of those grown men crying. I wasn't actually at the event, but I was standing
It was.
throwing my
Yeah.
Star Wars
When
underwear, weeping when he said,
I think it was when
we're home.
Welcome Home. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Chewie, we're home.
I mean, literally, men wept. It was crazy.
Yeah.
When I actually had my kids call down from their rooms upstairs to ask if I was okay when the first shot of the Millennium Falcon happened.
Oh, it's funny. We're all nodding our head. Holly, are you at all engaged with any? Is this something you enjoy, Star Wars and stuff, or no?
I saw Star Wars 14 times in the movie theater
Okay.
when it came
Nice.
out originally.
So you're not looking at us like
The credentials are
same perspective.
I'm a far bigger fan than Lance is of Star Wars.
Because he's been
More
making
money.
donuts for so long, he forgot how good they taste.
So Lance, I do have I have a more business oriented question for you, just out of
sure.
curiosity. So you said New York Comic Con draws 200,000 people,
Yes,
and it runs for 4 days.
correct.
So, do you work with? Can you talk a bit about like how you work with hotels, how you work with local properties in terms of promoting them and things like that? Just a bit, how do people get in on that? Candidly,
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of interesting. I think keeping in mind that the parent company is a business to business trade show company, and hotel communities typically are very dismissive of what they would call consumer events because it draws off of a local population in their eyes, and often that's true. Therefore, it's not very interesting to them. So it's changing somewhat, but we've often had a hard time getting dates in convention centers because those convention centers are built or financed in part by a hotel tax or an occupancy tax that hotels generate that then build these facilities with the idea that those facilities will obviously put people into hotel rooms. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So our shows were not viewed often as having real value to the hotel community. That's changed quite a bit. But that 200,000 ticket, that 200,000 person number, that's probably still 50-ish% local or tri-state. And so we do well with hotels, but not as well as some of our other shows. The other challenge that we have is that our fans aren't as interested in staying in the official hotel. Meaning, if you're going to a trade show, right? You're going to go on the website, you're going to register for the thing, you're going to register for the conference, you're going to say, well, what's the convention hotel? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And our people just aren't like that. They're a younger audience, they're price conscious a little bit more. They're saving all their money to spend at the show.
Yeah.
Like the more they spend on
for
lodging,
merch, for
you got it. So they're more interested in, where can I get double beds? What's an Airbnb? Like, what else can I do? So, like, we have a room block. We build out official room blocks. We're a very professional organization in that way. But some of our shows, we don't do as well with hotel room nights. I mean, still, New York Comic Con's probably it's probably upwards of 20,000 room nights now. But based on the audience size, that's still a pretty small percentage. That's a pretty good trade show, but we're massively bigger than a trade show. Now, a show like Star Wars or our video game shows actually packs. It's a predominantly out-of-state audience. And we actually will sell more hotel room nights on some of those shows that are smaller than on a show like New York Comic Con. That was a long-winded answer, but the truth is, we have an array of hotels in our block. We negotiate. We're pretty sharp, and there's no attrition. We never have attrition or anything. We have good commission rates. We're pretty professional in how we do that.
Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. That was terrific.
So how many people does it take to put on a show like New York Comic Con? How many people are you in charge of managing, and what are the logistical side of it look like?
Yeah, we'll bring about from we call them like the core team. There's probably about 75 of us, and then there's about 400 paid volunteers, roughly. Then there's several hundred security people of varying levels, from people in windbreakers that are just hourly to undercover, etc. We have then a general contractor that we use that manages the labor pool, and they're responsible for the move-in of several million pounds of freight, the construction of the actual show, the building of very, very expensive AV facilities for these theaters and things. And I don't even know what the labor pool is, but it's got to be 500 strong, I'm guessing, of carpenters and teamsters and all of those guys. So, I look at it as my crew is really, 50 to 75 of my folks, and then those volunteers that are, 400 or so. That's like my crew. And then everything else starts to become different ancillary groups that we interact with to make things happen.
Wow, I just thought about something. The level of technology that you have to use is unforgiving. I mean, if you're talking about an audience that knows and is expecting at a certain caliber what you represent, you can't just throw up a VGA res screen on a white backdrop and think they're going to be happy with it.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, it's the studios. I mean, because you'll have the filmmaker there often, and if you're not representing what he's created properly, they're quite unhappy. So those theaters we build are pretty state of the art. But even more fascinating is now what has to be done to keep cameras out. So, we've got security crews with night vision goggles. We've got, oftentimes we do the lockdown where you just surrender your phone. It's just quite difficult if you've got 7,000 people in a theater like we had in Anaheim for Celebration. But it's getting studios are getting more savvy about how they approach that stuff too. So sure. Sometimes I think they want things leaked a little bit, or they're willing to bring things that they want plastered everywhere, and they know that this is the unveil, because it's pretty tough to keep it all under lock. But there are those moments where you get a call from the head of publicity at a studio saying it's online. Like, what the fuck? How did this get out?
Yeah.
Any stories you can share that you notice? I said that you can share. I wasn't any kind of jeopardy here, but feel free. I think
everybody we interact with is nice. None of them are jerks.
I used to work with people.
Okay.
I don't know that that's true.
I'll tell one story, but I won't use names because it's sort of cute. So the best thing about running New York Comic Con, for example, is we have some offices that overlook the show floor. So it's like a cool view. But the best thing about those offices is there's a couple of private bathrooms, which is pretty important when you've got 200,000 people, using a facility, and the facilities within a facility. So those sky boxes is where we have private meetings with, important clients or potential clients or whatever. They're also where the bathrooms are. So it's like kind of this walk of shame if you're ever open the door and then there's 6 people around a boardroom table. But so I'm going in to have a meeting in one of these rooms, and the bathroom door was locked, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure this room's clear because it's kind of a sensitive meeting. Anyways, I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And the door opens and out walks the creator of one of the highest rated shows on television at the time. And by one of, I mean the highest rated. And he walks out of there, and this wall of stink just hits me. And then my first thought was if I could jar this and label it, I could probably sell it on eBay. You know what I mean?
The fact that you even had that thought, I'm very happy knowing. Jar O stink.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a marketer.
Oh yeah. I can imagine definitely.
ROJJ.
So I've got a question on just the programming. I mean, how much research do you guys need to do, or do you just really rely on people knowing these are kind of the core constituencies and getting the right mix of, certainly yes.
He doesn't
Star
listen
Wars
to me.
is probably.
That's true. Sorry. It's
All I want is
it's a
Tom
bit-
Welling. Every year I ask for Tom Welling. Clark Kent.
I am a
Smallville.
contrarian.
Yeah.
It's a combination. So we have a lot of submissions, and we take submissions from publishers and creators and studios and things like that. We curate some things, like we'll have an interesting idea that will kind of put the panel together or the screen together, and then we have people that are that have strong relationships with studios and networks, but that's barely relevant anymore, or appropriate networks and content producers of all different kinds that we're out there kind of finding out what are they doing, what are they looking to promote for that time frame. So it's a mixture of a lot of different things, but we always have more content than we have slots for, so which is we're lucky.
So as a question on, I mean, you're listening to a lot of people. I mean, you have the studio representations, as you said, you have so many facets. Then you have the representatives of the community, I guess, that are they're definitely vanguards of people within communities associated with all of this content kind of stuff. Do they have a voice at that table as well? I mean, I guess probably the ultimate question I'm asking is, do you lead the content that then is distributed on these community support infrastructures, or do they lead to you and you represent or reflect a little bit of what their driving forces are?
Precisely. The ladder, is that the second one? Ladder,
yeah,
right? Okay, yeah. We kind of aggregate it and then select, but when we start to select, I mean, there's some things that are no-brainers. Like when a studio brings us something, you're not going to be like, well, we'll get back to you. I mean, like if it's good content, it's good content. But normally we'll aggregate it and then run it through a lot of different people's opinions. So.
Okay. Now, I guess that means also is that as between these events, who leads the dialogue? Is it the community that is around it, or do you infuse into that community the guidance to it, or?
We kind of lead that dialogue where appropriate, you know what I mean? Okay. And where we can seek feedback. But there are a lot of things that we can't talk about. So we just have to make internal judgments. You know what I mean?
Between the bumpers, basically. Yeah, you just make sure that they stay between certain areas of topic and discussion. Okay. Because, I mean, what you have is this power of communication, but you can't just be the vanguard leader of it. I mean, you have to kind of keep it as a herd, I guess.
It doesn't. And I keep kind of thinking about New York Comic Con, but it varies by show. And like the Star Wars show, we always describe Star Wars Celebration as it's Lucasfilm's our love letter to the fans, and there's a lot of fan produced content at that show, like a lot. And whether it's fan films, whether it's fan fiction, there's a group of droid builders that, they build replica droids that are amazing. And like, there's a lot of very ground up content, meaning not ground up like ground beef, but like from the ground upward content. That's pretty cool because it's just a passion project for these folks,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean,
go ahead. The 501st, right? I mean,
yeah, totally. Exactly. Yep. That's
the Mandalorian.
Yep.
Just amazing, very passionate people. And then of course you get somebody that's into lightsabers and they will tell you who does what, where, when, how. Then you have the people that spar with them, and it's just amazing the diversity and the dedication that each is interested in.
So, Leon, what's an average spend for somebody that attends New York Comic Con?
It varies, but that's a great question. Actually, I knew at one point, and I don't think I know right now. We ask how much they spent, and I don't have the dollar. It used to be somewhere, if you were including their tickets, it used to be somewhere around $200, and I don't know where that's ranged from the last few years. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
How much is the ticket? Just the ticket.
So they're around $40 to $50 a day for New York. Star Wars is a little bit more, 65 for a single day. We don't sell as many multi-day passes as we used to because our shows sell out. So doing single days allows more people a chance to come to a show because we have caps on how many tickets we can sell. So if you switch to single days, then more people have an opportunity to at least come for a day. But yeah, good ballpark, $40 to $75 a day for a ticket, depending on the show.
And then they're buying all the merchandise and paying for autographs.
Yes. Yeah. And we produce a lot of merchandise as well. So we've hired a team of people that produce everything from, T-shirts to plush toys that are manufactured. We design and manufacture overseas and import to, Death Star soccer balls to, you name it, we've produced it. And so we do our exclusive merchandise business is a multi-million dollar business for us as well. So it's kind of cool in that not something I really thought about that we would get into, and it's actually one of the coolest parts of the business, I think, because it's really pretty. You get to be pretty creative,
Do you go ahead.
Don't you create a beer for New York Comic Con?
We do, yeah. For New York, and we have a show in Chicago where we have a brewery that does an exclusive beer. They brew something just for the show. We enlist an artist to create the label or a superhero on the label for it. In New York, it's always been Brooklyn Brewery. In Chicago, it was Three Floyds, which is if you know the Chicago area, it's an awesome small brewery. Now it's Revolution Brewing, which is really growing crazy since we partnered with them. Not because of that, but just coincidentally. And then in Seattle, man, I can't remember, but it's another. They're all indie breweries that do really cool work.
Neat.
Right.
From
it's looking around somewhere. I have the mark.
So from a normal conference world, you have, I think we affectionately call them suitcase trade show people that they didn't buy the space, but they're hawking their goods around the walkways. Do you have that same issue?
Lounge lizards.
Yeah, lounge lizards, whatever. Do you have that problem? I mean, you have people that are so passionate about what they're doing and they do their own unique things. And of course, they want to maybe sell doing it, I guess. Do you have that problem that you welcome it, or do you try to discourage it, or even try to control it?
We have those people that are drafting, that are just trying to, and that's like just people handing stuff out because you have a massive crowd. Those people we typically disperse, try and clear them out. Our version of that would be at our Comic-Con shows. There's a massive area called Artist Alley, and it's just where people can meet creators and artists that they love, and they can commission sketches. I mean, they could buy a book from them, but it's most popular because they have the opportunity to have something commissioned. So they say to a given artist who's known for drawing a certain character, I really want you to do this character for me in this setting, or with my daughter, here's a picture of her or something. And, you negotiate the price, or it's like, great, it's, $100, and they'll do a sketch. But that's for artists, which you often, and it's a little bit cheaper price point, and it's a table, and because it's a feature, you'll have people that want to like sell crap. They'll buy it to like sell jewelry and tchotchkes and stuff, and like it's just not appropriate because it's all heavily curated. So that's kind of our version of that, I suppose.
Sure.
But it's go ahead.
No. So from a success point of view, and this is probably an impossible or no answer question. Is there a kind of a profile of the average attendee to these that you can somehow identify from a marketing perspective? Like, hey, like if I want to geofence the event and target social interaction with what's going on at the event outside of the context of what's going on, is there some sort of aspect about the attendees that is marketable for, hey, now that you've seen New York maybe for the first time coming to this, there's a reason for you to come back. We can stay with our hotel or something. Is there some profiling or anything like that is similar?
There is. I mean, we have a lot of data about our fans, obviously. But the reason this model is interesting is that it's not the auto show, right? Because everybody likes cars, right? I mean, they use them or they like them or they're aware of them. So it's incredibly general, right? Like, who would be interested in the auto show? Well, most people kind of, I mean, there's some aspect of it. So it's very, very broad and very, very shallow. So how do you reach those people? You got to advertise everywhere, like, subway, commuter rail lines, billboards, radio, TV, like that's a lot. It's a very wide net to put out there, where our model is a very narrow target of people that has a very deep level of engagement. And part of the reason is that those people, they congregate in very specific places, always online. And they're typically quite easy to reach if you know where they are, know what interests them, know how to speak to them. So, our video game shows, we have 3 of them: Seattle, Boston, San Antonio, 4 in Melbourne, Australia. There's probably 450,000 the tickets roughly we sell between the 4 of them, a little bit less than that, 375.
Wow.
We don't have a marketing budget. It's zero. We don't spend $1 to market. We just started doing some light marketing on San Antonio just because it's a smaller population and we weren't hitting our caps that we'd set for ourselves. So we started to do some marketing. But I think we budgeted $20,000 probably for it. So when you can find these communities and figure out where they are and what they want, and how to talk to them, it can be really powerful. It's a roundabout way to answer your question. That yes, we have a profile. Yes, there are ways to speak to them. It's just got to be authentic,
What about with the Comic-Cons? Is it a similar situation where there's not much effort being put into or budget behind the marketing efforts, or are you more engaged with that community?
There's more budget, but it's not dramatically more. And like Seattle and New York sell out. Our Chicago show we still market. But I really have found that when we do mainstream advertising, it just doesn't resonate the same way as if we can do much more guerrilla stuff that's targeted at a hardcore fan community for the most part.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, so are you engaged in social media? Are you engaged with the fans throughout the year? So something like, I think I've not seen Twitter go this bananas in a long time, but when the review embargo was lifted for Wonder Woman a couple of weeks ago, everyone wasn't expecting it, and the internet just blew up. Are you guys monitoring that and capitalizing on that in any way when that kind of thing happens?
We are. I think it's kind of funny how quickly the world moves. So if within the context of like the event industry, we were very digital, very early, and very effective at it, right? Meaning all email, very kind of non-traditional. Well, email is print now. You know what I mean? Nobody, younger than us really wants email. You know what I mean? So we're still using email, and we'd have we have our social media person that kind of handles a few shows, and we're pushing email hard. And it's we fell behind, now social is marketing and maybe one person can do the emails for everybody. It's completely flipped.
Wow.
And the whole idea of content marketing, the production of, a message, a production of content that is engaging, that happens to have a message, embedded in it, is something I think we're a little bit behind on as well. So I think we were pretty good. I think we've gotten a little comfortable, and I just reorganized the whole company and changed a lot with an effort to sort of get us back towards very connected, sort of authentic grassroots marketing efforts and community management.
Well, you've really expanded a lot internationally too. How is that different? How is that audience different in marketing efforts?
It's hard. It's not been very successful. That's unfair, actually. I shouldn't say that. We've gotten a little spoiled in expecting strong results early. And, launching any business is hard, especially when your product only hits the markets one time a year. So for you to innovate or alter or engage, you got to wait 365 days in order to do it, So it's what we've learned. The biggest lesson we learned is that talent is everything. everything. So having the right people in those markets is the difference between success and failure. Because if you don't have the right people, you're not going to engage with the community appropriately. You're not going to find the community. You're not going to engage with them. You're not going to give them the content they want. You're not going to be able to find them to speak to them, and they're not going to show up. So traditional trade shows say, let's go get exhibitors. And when we have exhibitors, then we'll think about these attendees. We're the opposite completely, which is build an audience, and then whether they like it or not, the brands that are seeking that audience will have to show up, right?
Right.
Hopefully they like it. I don't mean we're dragging them there, but then they have to pay attention, and we've just not adequately engaged with communities outside the U.S. and built the audience the way I would like to. But we're only 2 years in the European and Chinese markets. We're further in India. We're a little further in Asia Pac, but I would like to see us more authentically connected with the communities first.
When you refer to talent being everything, which I think is a great statement, actually, that's why I was often making notes on it, because that was phenomenally put. With you going into the international markets, to Holly's point, do you have to cultivate the native passionate people, the community that is already existing in those markets as your core source of talent that you use to begin that propagation? You don't walk in from the outside saying, hey, I'm from the U.S. and we're going to start talking everything about Star Wars, and we hope you guys like what we're talking about, and we'll have somebody translate it. You're taking the local talent, and you're bringing the local talent that's engaged with the content and bringing them into the market?
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit of both. But if the proposition is that, we're going to bring all this Western content and all this Western, celebrities, and that's what's going to make our show, it's not going to happen. You just can't guarantee that kind of stuff. And B, it's not really a sustainable business model, because the cost, take Australia. We have 5 Comic-Con events in Australia around the country. Right? The cost to bring talent is astronomical. But more than that, there's not that many people that are worthy of getting, that are willing to say, yeah, I'll take 10 days off of whatever it is I'm doing to go do these shows, because we do back-to-back weekends to try and capitalize. The folks that are available, that are celebs and available, for 10 days at a shot, maybe aren't exactly. They may. I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
No, that was a perfect way of saying it. That was great. You didn't go A-list, B-list, D-list. You just said, hey, if they got the time, maybe not.
No, you said it. I didn't say anything. Which dare you, sir?
I know. I'm sorry. I step over boundaries.
but it's an interesting question. I mean, I'm assuming these shows happen pretty much the same weekend every year, or things along those lines, right?
Yep.
Particularly when you look at Australia, China, et cetera, have you, was there a deliberate effort, or, I have to think of how to ask this, because there's 12 moving parts in the question in my head. Certainly there are weekends where the major studios release certain things here in the States, right? Memorial Day weekend is a big thing, whatever's a big thing. Are there comparable periods in Australia or China, for instance, and are you able to align, the Comic-Con shows with those sorts of releases, because people might be there doing press anyway and give you opportunities? Or is it you pick the dates because that's what works for the local market, and, what are you going to do?
It's a super good question. And there's so many factors that go in. There's so many factors that can influence a date pattern that you're better off just picking a date.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just can't. And chief amongst them is, when's the venue available? I mean, if you don't have a room, you can't do anything. So you try and avoid the biggies, you try and avoid, you can imagine what they are, major holidays. Totally. Yeah. Jewish holidays, et cetera, or, Chinese New Year, or whatever it is for the market you're in, and try and avoid those things. And otherwise it becomes a job of, you build the best show possible, reach the fan community as directly and authentically as possible. And if you do your job right, they'll come, even if it's inconvenient. You know what I mean?
I can see the multiple moving pieces, because you figure that culturally there's different heroes within the context of the shows that are of interest in countries. So to your point, certain talent's going to draw certain audiences better in certain countries, and of course their availability mixed based on all the stuff you just mentioned. It's like you're trying to put a Swiss watch together blindfolded with a toothpick. It's just all the gears aren't going to work to make the thing work. You're just going to have to kind of shove it in there and make it. I can see where that'd be a problem.
Just plant a flag and go.
Yeah. What is the risk of for hotels and so forth that are around your nexuses of doing these things? You talked a lot about authenticity and genuineness, and I can see, and I have seen where hotels acted like they're the best buddy of the event when everybody going to the event realizes that's the biggest BS kind of thing. You don't even know how to spell the term, let alone be it. And so with that, what are some success stories of hotels that have embraced or do well when you come to town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll name names, or at least one. Nobody does it better than the Hyatt McCormick Place in Chicago. They're an exceptional property. I mean, look, they're attached to McCormick Place. They clearly know how to handle conventions, but they're so good. They're just so good. It took them a little while to get there. Like, I remember I met with the F&B guy, and I was like, how much beer do you buy for your busiest weekend? And whatever he said, I was like, double it. And he did. And they ran out of beer. They ran out of booze. The next year, he had satellite bars all over the lobby. Actually, I think it was a different guy. But anyways, they're really, really good. They're really good at authentically connecting. They encourage their staff to dress however they want to dress during our show. So they're wearing superhero T-shirts, or some of them are in costume. They clearly have encouraged or they want their staff to be personable and genuine. So they love to talk about the show with us or what they enjoy. They're just a really good staff. Less so is where they're trying to engage the community in an inauthentic way. Like, when you don't know what you're talking about, just don't try and talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, or misunderstanding the audience, like buffet breakfast. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example of where, like, what do these fans want? Like, they want to grab something and go to the show.
Like serving blue milk or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Even that actually would be more authentic than other things. Just if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it, because you're going to look stupid.
I haven't learned that lesson. I don't think I've learned that lesson.
I just mean as a brand. I haven't learned it personally, but as a brand. The other thing I would say, though, since you've asked, is like, I think it's really important for hotels to think about some of these events they're working with as some convention centers do, which is, I want to foster this. Like, I want to foster this new thing, because if it grows, it's a lot easier for this to grow organically here than it is for me to go bid on something, right? Yeah. That other people are bidding on. And we've seen some convention centers that have said, we're going to work with you. We understand you're launching and you're investing. We're going to work with you because we want you to succeed. That's what works for us. And there are hotel communities that have gotten that. And there are hotel communities that haven't, that have been kind of inappropriate with their rates early on, or once the business has become successful, have chosen to be inappropriate with their rates later. Yeah. And the number of battles we've had with hotel communities, I think, is unnecessary, because ultimately I think we're good for their business with the number of people we're putting into their properties, the F&B that we want, the ballrooms we're taking. And, we do remember those that are not cooperative or don't want to share in our success, or frankly are just trying to gouge our customers. Like, we know who you are, like, and it's just not a good look. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I don't think we don't have the right to be unreasonable with our requests. But it can be, there's a few markets where we've had challenges, and, we've changed the name of shows, removing the city. So we have the leverage to say, we're leaving, we're going to go. Like, if you can't corral your hotel community to get, like, to be reasonable, right. We're not dedicated to this town anymore. We'll go somewhere else. Right. It's a lot harder to get.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, they forget the power of communication that you have. Your community is loyal to what the purpose of your meeting is. It's not it's not that it's loyal to the city where you put it, it's loyal to what you're producing. So as soon as it's found out that there are people or hotels that are not as fair where they are gouging and so forth, that goes faster than you can even communicate it. That just
Oh my God.
rampant through the community. Don't stay there. They're just going to overcharge you. Boom, you know.
We're all profit companies. You know what I mean? Like there's no, it's not like we're looking at everybody saying, this should be a charitable event. We are all for-profit companies.
Right.
But there's a smart way in which to do things, in my opinion. And I'll give you one last example that maybe isn't the hotel community, but there was one convention center that like took every vending machine in the building, and knowing they sold out of soda and stuff, they raised the price of a bottle of soda to like $4 in their vending machines. And like literally because our audience is pretty digitally enabled, like there was like a boycott that was organized like immediately through the, at this little pop-up community or big pop-up community that was organized, and it made them look so stupid. Like they just looked like such jerks, and for what, for an extra, I don't know, whatever, 20 grand or something. But,
well, it's what's fascinating about it, and I know a little bit about these kinds of communities just because I grew up in some of them, and the like, what's fascinating is for years, people who were parts of these communities were the underground. Like they were good at they were really good at finding one another when you couldn't be out about this stuff, right? You had to hide your nerd under a bushel basket, And so, they were able to communicate that stuff when it was not cool to communicate that stuff. Saying that guy over there is a jackass and is jacking up prices.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the levels of service that Holly fights with all the time. There's disingenuous service, which is doing it by deference, like here's your water, versus hey, you're having fun, here's your water. Anything else you need? I mean, there's a completely different perspective of embracing, like you mentioned, the Hyatt, where they're like they got their geek on. They're like, hey, look, we are all about what you're doing, and we're happy to serve you. Compared to oh, you're those guys. Yeah. We got some blue milk over there.
But I'd be willing to bet the guys at McCormick Place when the Salesforce or whoever comes, it doesn't matter, right? The insurance adjusters, the actuaries come in, it's probably the same thing. It's knowing your customer and being able to say, what do these guys need and how do we serve, how do we produce that and make sure they have a great time where we don't have to go out and solicit and prospect somebody and try to fill that gap next year.
But what's great about that hotel is they sell out. Like they're sold out, and they're probably selling out for every convention that comes through. Right. So it's like they don't even have to. You know what I mean? Right. It's not like they're doing this to get business exactly. They're doing this to keep business and enhance the experience of a customer that's coming through, and that gets remembered. I'm talking about them.
Yep.
Right. Yep. Well, the other thing about this spirit
of service, the
other thing about this audience, and I kind of want to tie it back to this overall thing. And Lance, if you disagree, by all means, please say so. But I think one of the things about this audience specifically that is working its way into other audiences a lot is these folks tend to have really, really finely tuned bullshit detectors. Like they're really good at spotting, yes, this is one of us versus not one of us kind of thing. And, this is not the time to be, hey, if you can fake sincerity, you've got it made.
Yeah. We it's you're 100% right, and a big part of the fastest growing part of our business is working with brands to authentically, incredibly connect them with this audience. So it's we do business with Marriott, Chevy, Pepsi, Geico, Progressive, Uniqlo, DirecTV, AT&T, go down the list. And this is all in the last 3 years we've built this business that is all about connecting those brands in an appropriate way, because left to their own devices, they won't connect authentically. Not because they're bad people, but it's a unique community. I mean, so that is a big part of our business, because if we can solve a problem or enhance the experience for the fan, and that brand can be in the middle of that enhancement or problem solving, fans will remember that. Like that's really cool.
For example,
it was. I'm not going to say which insurance company because I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of the insurance companies, and they hired like a couple hundred temps dressed as their spokesperson, and in funky different ways, and they would just randomly go up to people that were waiting in line and just be like, "I got it. Like, go do something else. Like, I'll wait in line for you. Give me your cell phone number.
Cool.
When it's your turn, I'll text you. And if you
Wow.
want, here's a lounge that you can go up to that has, well, I don't remember what we did in the lounge, but they could go hang out up there. And of course, there was whatever in literature or something that was a story, but it wasn't a hard sell. It was just like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah from brand blah, blah, blah. They made up this really clever name for those people. Can't remember what it was anymore. I think it was like Linocorns, and they were dressed like unicorns, like they magically appear and be like,
That's really,
That is
really
That is
stuff.
you go do whatever you want. And it was like people were so like taken aback, like, really? Like, what's the catch? And it's like, no catch. Like, don't worry about it. And like that's almost priceless to have a brand have that like feeling about them. You know what I mean? From their core target audience, for them to say, I love brand blank because they did this for me.
Right.
I get it. It's very analog. I mean, but it's also very, very, very effective. Like the person will remember that for a long time.
But you just saved them. You just saved them the embarrassment most people have, not to just switch it over to like channels and social and so forth. The stupidity that companies try to perform in the social world, where there's a community on a conversational topic, and yours is the one we're talking about today in the sense of the interest levels and so forth. And they come bursting and going, "Hey guys, what's going on? I'm a geek too, and I'm worried about this and that," and you're like, shut up, and they do this.
Star Wars, I love Captain Kirk. Huh?
Kirk.
Exactly. Wait, I saw the plane. Oh, never mind.
That's where this business was
about
born.
to give a spoiler for a movie. I'm going to shut up.
we watched businesses do that, where we would say to brand ABC, yeah, for $5,000 you can do whatever, and they would show up and become like a joke.
Yeah.
And we realized,
They're
or
okay.
in some cases offensive. There was a couple of brands that did things that were really offensive to our community, and then we looked really bad, right?
Yeah.
We took money.
Did you let them in the door? Yeah.
One of our fans, we looked stupid as well by association. So we realized, take them by the hand and help them for our own sake. And then we realized that this was a pretty exceptional business opportunity for us too.
Sure. Sure. I mean, you can tell the difference between brought to you by DirecTV when they want you to fly to other worlds. DirecTV. That's a whole different. That's like, yes, and thank you for the check. But no, you're curating the content. I mean, to the point of you're curating the content on all facets. You're creating that ecosystem on all things. It's not just the environment you're providing the users. It's the entire interactions of everything you're mitigating to make sure it lives up to the expectations of the participants. As you said, you focus on the attendees. Everything else is around them.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim.
Yes, if we do our jobs well.
Right. Tim, you just there was something up in the chat box. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Oh, just an image, just for the lulz. There's no other reason for it than just because it made me. As we were having this conversation, it reminded me of this meme that's gone around forever and always.
Oh, now I gotta go look. I was gonna go look. Now I gotta go look.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
What does this mean?
So actually, that brings up a good. Okay, so when you're developing these as business, because they're almost like developing the franchise things. So as ReedPop, do you end up looking at successful small conferences and then nurturing them? So I'm not sure in the Comic-Con situation, was it licensing the name and then handling it over? See, you guys do a lot of Comic-Cons all over the world, right? So how do you normally approach that? I mean, are you looking at opportunities for new conferences, or do you guys wind up developing things organically, or just look at it when it's massive and go, oh, we can make this even bigger?
So what's interesting is, and I bet to some degree the hotel community is like this, like how many strong independent hotels or hotel chains are left out there, right? Mm-hmm. Like most of them are now owned or operated by someone else. When we started this, in 2006. There were no companies in this game. Everything was fan run. Everything.
Right.
We were the first sort of, professional types, loosely, to enter this space. It's now been, we're in the midst of going through a massive consolidation of these events, from fan run to other large event organizers that have smartly copied and followed suit. Mm-hmm. So the days of launching something into an open market are probably, in the US, are probably done for this format. I'm not certain how much we'll acquire in the US any longer. It's just becoming fairly saturated that I'm not sure it's a good bet. I think there's actually a bit of a reckoning coming for this space. Comic-Con, that is. The rest of the world is still got pockets of openness. Europe is quite covered. Again, a European event organizer kind of jumped in and started to consolidate that marketplace pretty quickly. So we're kind of now saying, all right, well, who doesn't know what they're doing of these event organizers? And maybe there's an opportunity there. Are there segments that aren't covered? So Comic-Con is our toys. Should we be doing something in the collector toy space? But the challenge of being a big organization is that small wins aren't interesting. Like, we have to have scale.
Right.
So there's a lot you could pull out and do, but we have to ask ourselves if the scale is there, and if that's then an appropriate use of our resources. So it's a roundabout way to answer your question. We're always looking for acquisitions, but we're probably looking now for launch and acquisition in spaces other than where we currently are, which is Comic-Con, and probably looking to exploit the gaming space a little bit more.
That's it. Well, it's one quick follow. One quick follow, because it seems like the Harry Potter universe is pretty rich, but they still seem to be in kind of that fan generated, not ushering up. But then you have Warner Brothers, who may want to control it, and I don't know, maybe Rolling or something like that, who want to control everything, so they aren't going to do it. But yeah, it's just a very interesting dynamic in terms of growing these these markets and opportunities.
It is, though, interesting. Your example is a great one, because would you rather manage a Marriott for someone, or would you rather own the hotel and the property? And that's where we vastly prefer assets that we own, that we control, and will be able to hold for the long term, where a management deal like of someone else's IP is not as attractive, except for in situations where either the IP is really great or it has the relationship has additional strategic value to ReedPop. So Star Wars, when we were first starting out, what the fuck is ReedPop? Well, very quickly it's like, oh wow, those are the guys that are doing the Star Wars show. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So strategically it was really helpful for us building our brand equity. But now may not be as interesting, in not Star Wars, but I mean other pieces of IP that we would essentially license, or JV. So again, kind of a long answer, but it gives insights into our strategy around.
You made some interesting points that there's a day of reckoning in that sense, and I can, from just your way of saying it, I was trying to think through what you might be implying with it. And I'm thinking, what you've done was you took what was originally fan-gen stuff and created an environment better than the fan-gen could do it. So that was your success model. But now with that model in open view, you have the Harry Potter series that now has reached to this point, to use Robert's example, that they're saying, hey, we're not going to let this roll out as a fan-gen transition into somebody else taking it over. We're going to curate our own methodology of getting it into the fan base. We're going to curate our methodology of making these conventions and so forth. And they're not going to be looking to you to do that. They're going to want to curate their own content. So they're not going to share things with you to allow you to do that space. Is that okay? Well,
and that's an interesting one, though, because the Potter one's still, I think, mostly fan driven. I don't think they've gone to the kind of the Warner Brothers, J.K. Rowling sort of run events, right? It's still in this kind of weird, small fans.
As a for instance, I think is kind of what you meant was like, by reckoning, I think it's that there used to be a few big shows, right?
Yeah.
That were the big quality ones. Well, now there's big shows everywhere, and there's a show every weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is such a demand for content, right? That it's harder to get good quality content.
Yeah.
To your point, brands are now saying, well, gosh, why am I bringing all my content and IP to these platforms? Why don't I do it myself? Like D23 for Disney or Star Wars Celebration or BlizzCon, right? Those were early ones. There will be others, that sort of branded content experience. But then also a lot of the content, there's just such a growing demand that you've got these, pay to play celebrities that like there was one cast member who I will not name from a good piece of IP that over Labor Day weekend probably put $1 million cash in his pocket doing 4 shows in 4 days.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, that's not going to be sustainable. Like there's going to be a reckoning where some of these shows are going to topple. And when you have now more for-profit entities that are looking to really maximize revenues, there's greater competition for brands that can spend. There's there's a lot happening in this space. And I don't think it's totally sustainable the way it is. And I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to like shake out here. Maybe it was a quick rise and it's going to level here.
But isn't there also sort of, one of the things we see in a lot of businesses, we talk about this a lot when we talk about hotel consolidation or hotel brand consolidation and the like. I was thinking about if it's a fan run event, they have a problem because they can't really scale past a certain point. I mean, as you've talked about, doing an event like this is really, really, really hard, right? And at the other end, if the margins get tighter because of, things like these pay to play that you're talking about or the like, you have to be big because you need to make up the low margins in just sheer scale, make it up in volume.
Yep.
I'm just thinking about, we've had stories over the last handful of years of folks who've done it badly, whether it's something like the Fire Festival a few weeks ago, which I know wasn't a fan event, but was a fan run type thing, clearly amateurish. DashCon a few years ago, that whole Tumblr convention that went epically sideways. Sideways. Sideways would have been a step in the right direction. But you're going to get this hollowing out of the middle, in all likelihood, right? Is that kind of what you're saying, or is there something else there?
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying, and I think that's part of it, and I think there's other things that are unforeseen. Like I don't know what that means exactly, but. Because it's unforeseen. There's going to be a leveling here, and it might even be just a pure like a rebellion. You know what I mean? Where people are just like, why do I have to pay $65?
So sorry, we're talking Star Wars, and you said the rebellion. I got all excited again. Sorry,
yes, bingo card. It's a bingo card moment.
The empire, the evil empire, the corporate oppression.
Yeah, I just don't want to be the evil empire. That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, the thing jumps the shark. Like, and I think, I think what happened in Phoenix, which is not, I'm not saying it had anything to do with the organizers, but that incident is another step in the sort of like the loss of innocence of this industry, I think. Like, and that's as more professionals organize, that fan grassrootsy magic starts to go away a little bit, and there's good things that come with it, but then prices go up, and there's more demand on celebs, and those prices go up, and they can't be everywhere, so some of the quality goes down. Oh, something scary. Just you start to see things adding up a little bit. And I mean, I'm not sounding alarm bells. It's just
you see things that From a techno question is something.
Lauren, just real quick, it is 6 minutes away from 90 minutes in. I mean, this has been a great conversation. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to bolt at 1 o'clock, and I want to make sure we're also.
I do too.
Yeah, we took a half hour, and this is what usually happens. Just real quick, as a tech question. From a conventions or meeting space, is that from a technology side, I'm an advocate of as technology is emerging, this 360 virtual participation capabilities, or the ability to not physically have to be somewhere, but then be able to intrinsically participate in it. Is there any value proposition to what you do? I mean, there's a value, of course, being there and be able to cosplay and be in that culture of your friends and your peers. And then there's those that either not to that level or don't get the chance to go there, that they would love to be able to participate or visually see and be in places like that, but they can't or won't physically go. Is there any value proposition to that, or you see that coming on the horizon, or is that just not something that fits into the space?
No, we do a lot of streaming, and currently we do it with Twitch, the website Twitch, who's kind of like our broadcast partner. So we stream a lot of live stuff. We've not done a great job of sort of, I would say, putting shoulders on the event. So doing, pre-event, produced content, post-event curated produced content. We do a lot of live right now. So I do think it's really funny. People that are in the online space are mystified by events, which I don't understand. But I'm in the event space, the live space, and I'm mystified by the online platform. So, there's an opportunity, I think, for us to do more virtually, more towards 365. Because if you added, 2 weeks on either side to every single one of our shows in every market, we'd be more than 365, right? So there is that opportunity. Just candidly, we don't know how to do it, and the prices are different, the margins are different. So you're like, yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. But then you're like, oh, wait, what's it cost to hire an editor in chief or a producer? And wait, what do you mean? What are the margins? I like my margins. Those margins don't sound good. Like, how it is. I'm sure like any business that tries to add ancillary, that's why you end up doing what you do, or staying with what you do best. So
sure. It's staying in your lane. Yep. Very true.
Hey, I'm so sorry. I do have to jump off. I didn't think we'd go this long. I have a call I've got to get on in 3 minutes.
We've never not gone this long.
Yeah. You thought we would offend him or something?
I did, honestly. Oh, no, vice versa.
You sucker me into this, and then you're like, all right, later.
Let's go.
How are your dogs?
They're good. They've been quiet, thank God. I'm always nervous, but really, I'm literally jumping on a client call in 3 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Well,
Likewise,
Lance, you've been more than generous with your time, and we sincerely appreciate it. We're not asking you to leave, and you certainly don't have to leave. Tim had to jump off even. But just thank you very, very much for the time and the insights and so forth. I mean, it's been a real privilege to be able to speak with you and spend the time.
It was really fun. I enjoyed it. I hope I wasn't overly verbose. At all. So
it's been great.
We'll send you copies of episodes where you're like, really? I could have done that? Oh, chill.
Yeah, overly verbose.
No, it was really fun.
The subtitle of this show. Don't worry about that. That's fine.
Don't worry about it. But you're more than welcome anytime you want to come back. Sincerely, I mean, whether it's just we don't have to talk about just join in on whatever we want to chime in. If you want to just kill a little bit of time, then you're more than welcome to come back and join us for anything, because we this is what it is. We pick something and beat it to death and make sure we talk about everything we want to talk about it.
It's been fun, and I as Holly said, I've been in this industry, in the hospitality business. That's where I started my professional career, and in a sense, I'm still in it in different ways. So, like, your guys' perspectives and views are I think we have some alignment, in the way we think. It's really been fun. So thanks for letting me do it.
No, sincerely appreciate it. We would ask you normally if people want to get a hold of you, but I think you're a man in demand already, and giving any information of how to get access to you would be even more of a challenge to your life.
No, I don't mind. When I met my wife, we met online, and she was like, "You're very Googleable." Like, she's like, "I wasn't worried about you being a serial killer before our first date." Like, there's a lot. So yeah, easy to find.
Excellent. And Tim, you said you had to jump off, but where can people find you, Tim, if they want to reach out to you?
TimPeter.com or TCPeter on Twitter. Always
Excellent.
A pleasure, gents. Lance, really nice meeting you. Thanks for the great conversation. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Hey, Tim.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Bye now.
But like I said, this is no reason that we're shutting things off. We're just I know that they tend to have a tight cut to it. So I don't know, Stu, if you have to run, but we never got to any of our topics. But I had a blast talking with Lance. That was awesome.
That was great. It was amazing how much overlap there was in what he was talking about with hiring great people. I mean, that is true in every industry, but especially in the hotel industry. Treating people, being authentic, engaging with them with their language. Everything he said about his industry totally relates to the hotel industry.
Yep.
Well, he was dead on. It's a
Yeah.
hospitality industry. I mean, that's it. And you
Yeah.
could apply the same thing. It doesn't matter to airlines and
Any business, really.
every business. If you're running a
Yeah.
boutique at a mall, I mean, Nordstrom's is trying to figure out, how do they keep things going when retail is, crater.
I like how he talked about the fact that they focus on the attendees first and they build around that.
Yeah.
And again, it was weird. I didn't share this article. It was a distressing article, and I actually started reading it from eHotelier, where GMs don't focus on guests anymore. And the headline caught my eye with it.
Yeah.
And they had a survey of 1,000 GMs, and I would like to disagree with it, but I'm sad to say that it's a reality. GMs are no longer the host of their hotel. They've lost that.
I would say the good ones still are.
Yes,
Right. Absolutely.
yes, but their focus is ownerships, rev gen, operations, blah blah blah, everything but what the guest experience is anymore. It's intrinsically relates to the guest experience, but that's not their first go-to focus, as it is how does it affect all the following things before we get to that, which I thought was very distressing, but nice to hear from Lance's perspective. It's a shared sentiment that if you focus on who is going to be doing what you're offering, the rest fits around it quite well. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well,
we-
and also, go
here
ahead.
at Fuel, we have when we go through our original training, when we hire people, one of the first things we talk about is that we're not servicing our hotel clients, we're servicing their guests. So when we're marketing, we want to make sure that we're doing everything authentic to the person that saved up the whole year to spend their money on this once in a lifetime vacation or annual vacation. Because if we do right by them, then our clients are going to be successful and they're going to be happy with us. So we have a persona for our clients, but we also have personas for our clients' guests, and that's what we talk about more than anything else at Fuel.
No, it's the ultimate focus. That's the best focus because, to your point, you're not doing what's best for your client. You're doing what's best for your client because you're taking care of their client, their business.
Exactly.
That's what's forgotten so much, though, is this whole aspirational sort of travel. People hear about Comic-Con and things like that, and they might like it, but and even though they pull such huge numbers, there's probably a massive amount of people who would love to go to one, and they've never been, sort of thing.
Sure.
So nurturing
also
that
being
whole.
slightly intimidated with their lack of familiarity because it is an inclusive and definably exclusive group. You can't just passively go to this, and people will accept you, but don't try to act more genuine than you actually know. Don't act like you've always been or always have been a fan, because there is a BS indicator, because for the longest times they were not able to walk down Central Avenue with their stormtrooper outfit on. Now they can. It's chic to do it, but before that, you have a costume. What? It's not Halloween. What do everybody had to go through that, But one thing I wanted to share that was somewhat related to what Lance was saying, but a revelation that I had is because I'm working with a client on this, on GSS scoring and customer stuff. For the longest time, I always talk about the fact that I always liked hiring people that were not in the industry because they had the most purest perspective of the guest. Whereas the more you work in the industry, the more you explain or interpret why certain things were running away. The example I would give is if somebody walked up to your front desk and there was nobody behind the front desk, as a hotelier, I would say, "Oh, it's shift change. They're too thin. The person's in the back answering your phone." I have some operational excuse in my mind that clicks. From a guest perspective, all they see is, "Hey, but nobody's at the front desk."
Yeah.
So I kept that as a mindset, and I don't even listen to my own advice because I'm building these GSS scores. I'm building all the survey stuff, and one of my subcontractors, one of my coworkers that I'm working on the project with, is totally disagreeing with me on the process and methodology. I mean, we're fighting about this, and I was approaching it from the perspective of, I'm here as a GM or a hotelier. I want to know from the guest what we did right or wrong, so I know how to fix it. So I want them back. I want them back. I want their business. I want the people around them, their business. And I want to make sure that people like them coming into my hotel will not have to suffer whatever they're complaining about in the future. I want to solve that problem. And he's like, on the survey stuff, he's like, "Yeah, I get that, but that's not what we're building this one for." I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" We forget the fact that there's business cycles that come through our hotels that will never come back. They're there one time. That's it. That's their one pass through. And if they told you something was crappy and you're trying to solve it so that they want to come back, they're not coming back there because there was a one time they went through that town or something. But the real value in working and surveying them is the social ripple that comes from that. Their shared experience going forward and out. That even though they may not be coming back, the audience that they have, that all of us have individually now, that ripple forward, getting dialogue with them and them seeing the efforts and the questions as how you're interacting with them, even though they individually aren't coming back, which is my motivation of asking a previous guest a question, is only a part of the problem or part of the issue. It's really the ripple effect of the social engagement that they share past that. And I never really gave it the value that I gave trying to fix the guest problem. And when you balance the two out, it was like somebody whacked me over the head with a bow. I was like, son of a bitch, that's right. That is as important as whether I fix the guest problem as it is what they say about it going forward. So yeah, I just want to make sure
we're having the same internal dialogue right now because, and I'm going to put my Ed Flip2 hat on here for a little bit, because one of the things when we started working with them was they were saying, why are you guys sending these post-stay surveys, which are just very dry, how was your stay, rate the cleanliness of the room, rate the friendliness of the staff, stuff like that, which is kind of the ubiquitous post-stay survey that most people send.
Right.
And they're like, listen, these people just had the vacation. They probably had a great experience. You're not even leveraging that excitement and that passion and that memory to generate more business. You're too worried about, the operational side of what did you screw up? What did you do right?
Yeah.
So we started doing the same thing. We've had that same kind of eureka moment that it looks like you had as well, Lauren, which is, well, let's see if we can capitalize on this momentum. And rather than hitting them first with the survey, we can get to that later if we need to, but let's first let them share and tell everyone how great we were first. If it wasn't great, they'll tell us. But if it was great, let them tell everyone else. So,
right. No, that's it. Sounds like the same conversation we're having because I was arguing, the more traditional line. I'm not a big GSS post stay one because that means the last conversation is a negative one. You're asking them to critique. It wasn't that we're trying to do that, as it was how I was trying to structure the survey and the engagement as to when and where. The purpose of the survey. I mean, I wanted actionable items like conditional questions that say, when you say the room sucked, break down, was it cleanliness? Was it fixtures? What, give me a reason to go back to my housekeeping versus my engineers as to what to do. Where he's like, no, I just want happy face, smiley face, or smiley face, frowny face of, is it what you think? Was this good? How do we do this? Was there a good attitude with the staff? And I'm like, well, I can't action on that. And he's like, it's not for that. It's for what they're talking about going away. And it's like,
I've seen an increasing number of properties that are that tying compensation to the management level to the results of those surveys. And I think it's dangerous because their behavior starts changing, right? Because they're now manipulating what happens to try to artificially increase specific scores. And they lose sight of, this is a human being with specific personal needs and us treating them like that. They're too worried about, whether it's just all in on specific cleanliness of a specific thing in the room, because that's where they were getting complaints. But I think data's powerful. Don't get me wrong. I think you should solicit feedback from your guests at all times, no question. But I think you've got to be dangerous that if that's the only litmus test you're using for success.
Right. Well, no, you made a great point. Connecting that relationship. I got told by a previous supervisor back when I was GM, he said, when they were tying it and why they stopped tying, he says, it's really easy to go over and make somebody happy when you're giving somebody else's money away. Because if you're telling me that my salary is based on their happiness and I can give them free rooms and food and stuff, and I'm not paying for that stuff, I'm making them happy, damn it. I'm making them damn happy.
But that's, I mean, in the education area, that's the problem with all, basically, teachers teaching to a test versus what's the actual information, are the students learning valuable information that produces better outcomes at the end? And I think it's almost the reverse on here, where it's like, these outcomes are brand preference and return stays and word of mouth and net promoter score, all these sorts of things that help you build and enhance your brand.
And I think Lance pointed that out in his conversations too, is that I don't think they're in about sending out surveys. Was the air conditioning set to the right temperature? Were the seats comfortable enough when you sat in your stormtrooper outfit, versus when you're wearing your Luke outfit or something? What they're looking at is the overall. And to your point, Stuart, is like the feedback they get is the feedback they share of, hey, this was just rocking. The lines were good, the food was good, the room was good, the events were good. Their story is what's being shared. Their positives, their environment that they enjoyed. So, it really was. I guess I was very surprised. I have to say, I agree with you that I was really surprised the overlap, the similarities of it, where it really is. It's hospitality in a different form.
The one thing I regret, I meant to ask him. My son's birthday is on Sunday, and I wanted to ask if he could get Mark Hamill and James Earl Jones, or just a couple of people.
Just a couple of
Pretty organized. Just throw together a little Star Wars themed party for me. Get some
just
stuff.
a little something. Yeah, well, I think they're the ones not on the list that they have time 10-day spans. I think they're a little busy right now.
Yeah.
If you want, I mean, Reggie Fils-Aimé from Nintendo is a fraternity brother. You want him to come back with like some of the games they're working on?
Because he's one of my personal heroes. The Reginator. Oh, absolutely. I'm two things. I think I told you this before, that I am so geeky about. One is Star Wars and one is Nintendo. So, yeah, the Reginator. Ever since he broke onto the scene at E3, man,
unbelievable.
He's such a neat guy. So, yeah,
get
him on the show. Well, I'm not sure what's
the funny thing in college, he was like a Navy ROTC, really nice guy. Sort of thing, but wasn't totally into gaming. All the things that people just think, oh my God, he's like a really, really nice guy.
Mm-hmm. You know why Nintendo is so successful is because they do what we've been talking about. They put their audience first. Their fun is at the bottom of everything they do, and it's the first thing they think about. Where you look at some of these other video game companies that are following a franchise and churning out the same thing every year. These guys are really trying to create unique value and unique fun experiences and engaging social experiences. That's why they're successful.
And the number of things they've done. Just when they came out, I don't know how many years. When they come out with a Wii, was that 90s or something? I mean, that was a really, I mean, really tremendous leap forward. And again, geared on what do these people want, and just breaking kind of away from we can have this.
I still have my Wii. I love my Wii. We play Wii all the time. Yeah.
It's great.
No, but
even the Wii U was great. They just marketed it terribly, and
right.
That was, but as a social device, the kids that I know, I get every Nintendo device like the day it comes out. But the kids that got to engage and play with it got it and loved it, and to watch them socially interact was phenomenal. They just marketed it terrible. But again, with a Switch now, that the same thing's beginning to happen. It's a phenomenal device, and my kids are playing it. They're taking it to friends' houses, and it's just really neat to see.
That's right.
True. But I guess now that what this means is that we all have to arrive on Ed's doorstep in Orlando when it's Star Wars week. The Fourth be with us, kind of thing. Yeah. We definitely do some cosplay. We all show up and geek out with Star Wars for a couple of days together, because I think we'd actually have a blast. All the families together, that'd be actually a lot of fun.
I'm in.
Well, I don't want to drag us out for any of the other. I mean, the other topics. I mean, we can, if they're still worthy next week to be thrown into the hopper, then we can. If not, there were some of them they're good. But Robert, thank you for sending over a few of the topics. For those on the show that want to, these will be in the show notes of the things that we thought were important, of interest, newsworthy that we were going to discuss, but we didn't get to because Lance was so really engaging and it was a fun conversation.
Yeah.
But I guess with all being said, if Mr. Robert, people want to find you, where do they find you?
At Robert K. Cole on social media or rockcheetah.com.
And Mr. Stewart, Mr. Boba Fett.
I never knew who Boba Fett was before.
Yeah,
now we know.
So you can find me on online either on Twitter at Fuel Travel or at Stuart Butler. You can find us on weekly or bi-weekly right now on the Fuel Hotel Marketing podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're going to be at High Tech in a couple of weeks as well. So if you want to come.
What booth number?
We're at 1911. So we're going to be running a special at the show. So we're really doing a big push. We just updated our mobile app, Guest Express. It's a custom mobile app platform for independent hotels where you can really compete with the big boys and have all the full features for a fraction of the cost. And we're going to be doing show pricing. So you can, if you're 149 units or below, it's only going to be $200 a month for the best, most feature-rich app on the market. So total plug. But
well, no, of course, that's what the show's about. Well, you actually, if you want to share the link, I'll throw it in the show notes with it as well, so that they know. For those who either making it to High Tech or not High Tech, for those who may not be familiar with High Tech, which seems odd if you're actually listening to our show, hospitality industry, technology. Technology. The tech was the end of it. I thought there was another acronym part to it, but which is sponsored by HFTP, with Hospitality Financial.
Technology professionals.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's in Toronto on June 26th through 29th. So.
Yeah, right. And Toronto's a really crazy, cool, fun city. I mean, I do regret not making it there because it's kind of like old home week. You meet all the people you know and talk to all year in kind of in one spot because it is the show to go to for technology for hospitality. So.
Yeah.
With
We're
the
going to
booth,
be doing some live videos streaming on our Facebook page as well, on the Fuel Travel Facebook page. So if there's
Awesome.
any vendors watching that want us to come and talk about their products, then we're going to be doing some of that fun stuff.
but a very cool idea. No, Facebook Live. Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, we did that last year. It was the first time we did it. That's how I met Ed. Was at Flip2. I'd never heard of them before, and I was walking the show floor and I saw the Flat Ricky. They had that cardboard cutout of Richard Dunbar. And it caught my eye, so I just went and started chatting to them. So
we did the live broadcast from his booth that year actually.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, we did the live from then, which was kind of fun because they had the rule that they shut down the expo floor. We had to bribe our way in so that we could bring the gear in to do the live show. But anyway, another story. Excellent. Well, with all that being said, please share the links to it so we can share that for the show notes. Any of the live broadcasts, if you know what times and things it is, please share it. I will push it out on everything that I got so people know that you're going to go live and when you're going to go live. So maybe we can build the audience up a little bit for it as well. Not that you don't already have your own audience, but at least share that out. And then any takeaways and notes from that, would love to know. I'm probably going to send you a wish list since I'm not there.
I'd be glad to do some homework for you if there's anything you want me to check out. And we'll be doing a podcast episode, like a recap of the show, probably the week afterwards, and then I'll come on here and
awesome.
Folks, what we saw, all the robots and automated assistants and all that stuff.
See, now I was trying to get with Lance the idea of maybe if they did a automatronic Darth Vader and had it with a 360 cam visualization out of it,
man, that would be
so
so
Darth
cool.
Vader at the conference, which to me would be like rocket.
That would be amazing.
But then, but again, these conferences are harder to put on, and you don't want to really be under a Darth Vader helmet in a hall walking around with all these people. I don't know.
That's a lot of selfies, I'm sure.
By the way, your helmet that you have for Boba Fett, pretty darn good. It even has the ding on the top, which
Yeah, it's got the bullet hole. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
of course, he had to put that in himself. So that was.
I had to choose. I had a Darth Vader one, a Clone Trooper, had that, and a Yoda mask, and so I went with both.
Okay. No, I got to ask, what version of the Clone Trooper outfits did you have? Did you have the original series?
Yeah, it was Cody from the
Cody.
So,
okay. Okay. Yeah, but it has the Mandalorian. Okay, good, cool. See, geeking out again. All right, we did ask about you. How many people at Fuel Travel? You said the podcast. Where can they find the podcast? I guess I didn't get.
On iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search for Fuel Hotel Marketing Podcast, or you can go to fueltravel.com/podcast, and there's all the old episodes there as well. So we're up to 55 now. So
yeah, rocking it.
Yeah, we're not quite as far as you guys. We're coming up on 100 here, right?
On this one, we're 96 now. Be 100. My podcast is at 169 right now, I think, or something.
Great.
But it's not been every. Now it's every week, or has been for the past year and a half. Before it was like it started once a month, once every 2 weeks. Then it got to be once a week. So the numbers don't match the time frame. It's been about 4.5 years. But I love your podcast. I listen to that every time it pops up new.
I appreciate it. You know what's weird? We went to bi-weekly for the summer. We slammed and we actually closed early on Fridays during the summertime. But it's harder to do it every other week than it is every week. Like when you're in the routine and you have everything in line to, okay, this is the day we're going to figure out the topic. This is when we're going to research it. This is when we're going to put the notes together. It just goes like clockwork. And we really struggled the last couple of episodes because we've gone to every other week. So I don't know. We might have to go back to weekly. So
I hope you do, because I love them when like I said, bi-week. And I agree with you. Doing the bi-weekly stuff, it's like you overthink it, or you have too much to compare, or you don't know what to use. And with every week, you're just like, throw it in the hopper. Yeah, we can pick that, and boom, there it is. Routine does play a part. So, but very cool. Well, gentlemen, thank you very, very much for the time. And for I think Holly's listening to us today, but Holly bringing Lance to us, and of course Lance joining, and then but we got to give Ed a whirlwind of shit for not being here. Because he would have totally been into that conversation.
And we just need, because he's a Star Wars nerd too, we need to tell him that like Mark Hamill showed up on the show or something like that.
Or you know what, we got tickets and we got cosplay outfits to bring and everything. We got the whole gambit and
vintage 1977 collector's edition figures and all kinds of stuff.
In the original packaging, untouched. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, definitely.
I have a friend who that's what he collects.
Yeah.
Action figures only from movies, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's taken over his house, but it's like walking. He has like 2 bedrooms now because his daughter's off at college. That it's like walking into a Walmart. You know, he has these huge
That's
racks
awesome.
with all the little thing, but it's a different figure on. They aren't lined up with the same figure of 20 of them, right? They're
Mhm.
each different ones, and it's amazing. He's like, oh yeah, I've got the Matrix Neo, the transparent Neo and stuff like, and just all these, and from movies that were complete crap. Those are like the really, really good. Those are the really
I have you
valuable
know,
ones, right? Because
Stuart,
nobody has them. It's all scarce.
if you want, I mean, my purging of all my stuff. I feel like being first married when you had to get rid of your guy stuff. So stuff that I've had that I've kept, I have the full collector's Burger King Star Wars watches in their original case.
Oh wow.
That my wife is not allowing me to keep because one, I don't wear them, which to her, and I'm like, you don't understand. She says, I don't care. And it's like, yeah, but and she's like, I don't care. And really, I'm dead ended on all of them. So they're for sale for $15 on Craigslist as the original collector set of Burger King Star Wars watches. So if you want to, I'll save them for you. And then when I see you, it'll be a gift.
Now, did you research the pricing?
I promised them to somebody.
Did you research the pricing though for vintage?
These are Burger King. You got them. Anyway, there are a whole series of them, but yeah, they're like $15, $18, $20 on Craigslist. They're more like $20, $25. But my wife's insistence on getting rid of stuff before we leave has made it a super discount price of $15.
I will gladly offload any of those things that you don't want anymore. Well,
I'm going to convince her that I have a buyer. We got to bring them with us.
There you go.
No, I've got another friend who basically went into the card business, right? Most predominantly sports cards, but he bought his parents a house, $400,000 house, because talk about using technology to attack a market, and the sniper software he has to find undervalued goods and to bring them in to acquire them and to sell them to the auction. Unbelievable.
I had my Star Trek blueprints of the Enterprise. My father, all my toys that I kept, he sold the blueprints for $2,000.
Wow.
Because I had the one that had the bowling alley in it. So I'm like,
oh no, I got rid of a box of 64 Hot Wheels cars from the 1960s, original red. They used to have a red band around, but they were all beat up to crap because I used them. None of these were pristine. They were just all chipped up and everything. And I finally went, and I talked to my daughters. They had like zero, and I go, well, there might be one or two, and then nah. So we're moving down. We're down. So do all that stuff. Gave them to like an auction place. Sold for almost $2,000, and I'm like, which one was it? And I know there's somebody going, holy crap, they had a whatever.
No, my dad sold my Hot Wheels. Yeah, I had the original Batmobile car that went for $700, and the Purple People Eater that was about $500. Yeah. Anyway, we can keep going on. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much for the.
Sounds like.
Yeah, I had great toys. Anyway, thank you all very much. Next week, show number 97. I believe we do have a guest co-host coming in for that. Yet I'll get confirmation before, of course, the show, but it should be very interesting. Great speaker. Actually, Ed brought him to us. Really, really neat about content. So we'll see. We're trying to finalize that up, so we might have a guest for that as well.
Very good.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you very much again. For everyone else, thank you for attending show number 96. 97 is next week, 10:30 Eastern or Central Time. Come join us then. Thank you very much, guys.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
And there.